So I'm using Brusho, and it's a fantastic medium. It's a bit unpredictable, but you can actually use it on dry and wet it as what I'm doing now, or you can wet the surface of your paper and then sprinkle the Brusho on. I've actually made a video all about Brusho, and I'll put a link for the video in the description below, and you can watch that just to get a little bit more in-depth knowledge about Brusho. So this is a little bit of Alizarin Crimson Brusho, a really pretty colour. I'm kind of making up the colours for the umbrella. I'm not strictly following the photograph. I like to be quite loose. So I put a bit of yellow, lemon yellow on the right hand side. And for the central umbrella, I've used a little bit of red, and I'm spritzing it there. So I've sprinkled the Brusho on dry paper and then spritzed it with my little spritzer bottle. So I'm actually sort of masking with my paper towel here so I don't get any of this violet onto the red umbrella there, and I've spritzed it again there. So I'm having lots of colourful umbrellas here. If you don't have access to Brusho, you could actually use spattering techniques for this as well, so don't worry. And if you want to create some textures, you could use watercolor pencils and some sandpaper or an emery board, and you can rub the tip of the watercolor pencil against the sandpaper and the pigment will fall onto the wet surface to create some nice textures. As you can see there, I've used a little bit of black Brusho to the left there, and I'm using a little bit of moss green here. It's not really giving me a lot of colour, so I actually use watercolour on top of this later. So Brusho can be quite hard to control sometimes, and I would definitely say the best thing I've learned from using it is less is more. And just sort of to control everything, because it does go a little bit wild. But I think that's what I like about it. It's very creative and you get these wonderful textured effects. And I've discovered that if you use a little bit of just household bleach, and what I'm doing there is just spraying a little bit here and there to get some of my light back. If you do decide to use bleach, please be careful and make sure your room is well ventilated and that you don't get any on your hands. And it does sometimes affect the sizing of the paper, so when you apply another layer maybe of watercolour, you may see that it's sort of a little bit dull in places. But this is just a bit of playing really, and I've just applied a little bit more Brusho now, and I'm using my watercolour round size 10 brush just to activate the Brusho again, and you almost create a little wash with the Brusho. And it's quite effective, and you've still got those textures underneath as well. So here I'm actually applying some green paint, so I'm using some yellow and some turquoise, painting wet on wet with my size 10 brush, and then I'm putting a little bit more of the moss green just below there onto the damp surface, and I'm painting just some red watercolour now, wet into wet on this umbrella here. I decided just to show you the pen and wash side that you can just use watercolor if you want to, and I'm painting some turquoise paint here, so you can go from the Brusho to the watercolor and get that bit of control there. So I'm using this turquoise, painting that sort of blue umbrella, but also cutting in to get the shape of the central umbrella that looks quite pink now rather than red. But I'm using some yellow here as well, just to cut in to get the shape back here as well, but leaving lots of Brusho areas. And if you want to, as I said previously, you can spatter, which is what I've done in the top left here, and onto the yellow umbrella as well. So my painting has dried, and I just want to do a little bit of tidying up. And this bit where the purple ran, I'm using some Winsor & Newton white gouache, size 6 brush, and I'm just cutting in, painting the negative shape in the background, just with the watered down white gouache, just to get the shape of the umbrellas back again. And I'm softening with my size 6 brush with some clean water there. And I thought I'd give a little sprinkle of some Brusho as well to create some texture so the white didn't stand out too much. I applied a little bit more green paint to the green umbrella with some white gouache just to get some light back, and I'm doing the same to the violet umbrella here, and I'm just using a little bit of clean water to soften the edges. I thought I would define this black umbrella a little bit more, so I'm actually using Paynes grey with some burnt sienna. You could use black. I'm using my size 6 brush, and I'm just sort of painting this on wet on dry, but softening and diluting, as you saw there with my damp brush. I'm just dropping and painting and cutting into the sort of pinky red umbrella on the left there, just defining the details and bringing out these main umbrellas. So I've allowed my painting to dry again, and I'm just using some of that Paynes grey and painting the handles of the umbrellas and some of the spokes as well, wet on dry with my size 2 brush. I dried my painting off again, and I'm just using a little bit of white gouache with my size 4 round brush, painting wet on dry, some highlights on the umbrellas, the handles, the spokes, just to give a little bit of detail. I think that's brought the painting to life actually, those white highlights, and I'm just spattering now with my size 6 round brush, the white gouache on its own, slightly watered down to create the look of sort of rain as well and water. And the painting has dried again, and I'm gone back to my drawing pen here, and I'm just sketching in now some of the lines that have got a little bit dull from the original drawing and just sharpening up some of them. I'm not drawing over every line, I'm just pulling out a few here and there. I'm removing my washi tape now, so you've got a nice clean white border to assess to see if you need to do any more to your painting. I think I've done quite enough. For those of you that would like to support my YouTube channel, learn more about watercolour, get access to exclusive content and downloadable outline sketches, why not think about joining my Patreon membership? Details about that can be found in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. Happy painting. Bye for now.